Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about shipwrecks. That's right, you heard it here first. Shipwrecks, not the literal kind where pirates and buried treasure, though that would be kind of fun, wouldn't it be? It'd be really a lot of fun to check that out. But real life kind, the holy shipwrecks, if you will. We are dedicating today's entire episode to those moments where everything went absolutely, hilariously, tragically wrong. You know those moments. You had a 5-year plan, right? And you bought the planner, you color-coded the tabs, and then life looked at your planner and said, "Isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable?" Today, we're talking about divine redirection. We're going to explore what it looks like when our absolute best laid plans crash and burn, and how we handle the agonizing tension when our perfectly crafted itineraries, they don't match with God's itinerary. Have you been there? I'm sure you have. So sometimes the thing you are crying over today is the exact thing you'll be thanking God for tomorrow that you didn't let it happen. Let me start with a story of a massive multi-billion-dollar failure. And you think your issues were bad? Hear this one. The year is 1968. A scientist named Spencer Silver is working for 3M. You know the company. And he's on a mission. He wants to create a super strong, heavy-duty aerospace adhesive. He gets into the lab, mixes his chemicals, and completely messes it up. He doesn't create a super glue. Instead, he creates a weak, pathetic, frankly embarrassing glue that can barely stick 2 pieces of loose leaf paper together. It peels right off, and in the corporate world, that is considered a failure. And so what happens? They shelve it for years. Now flash forward, another 3M employee named Art Fry is sitting in his church choir, and Art is having a holy shipwreck of his own. Albeit it's very annoying, it's a very mundane one. He keeps losing his place in his hymnal because his little scrap piece of paper that bookmarks that page keeps fluttering to the floor right in the middle of the service. We've all been there, trying to look holy while scrambling on the floor for a piece of paper. And Art is frustrated. But then a light bulb goes off in his head, and he remembers that useless, weak adhesive that his buddy Spencer had made years ago. The glue that sticks temporarily but peels off without ripping the page. And what he does, he goes back to the lab, he slaps it on his bookmark, and boom! Guess what? You probably guessed it already. The Post-it note is born. Here's a takeaway for us today, I think. What if your biggest, stickiest failure is just waiting for the right environment to become a massive blessing? Spencer Silver thought he had failed. He'd actually invented a multi-billion-dollar product, but he just didn't have the right context for it yet. And that kind of brings me to the core of what we're talking about today. When our plans fail, it feels like, rejection, right? But what if it's actually protection? What if it's preparation? You see, there's a verse in the Bible that perfectly encapsulates this holy shipwreck moment. It's in Genesis 50, verse 20. You know the story of Joseph and his brothers, right? Joseph is talking to his brothers, the same brothers who literally threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery. What family does that, right? But they completely derailed his life plan. And Joseph looks them in the eye and says, "You intended to do harm to me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of lives. I want us to pause there for just a moment. Joseph said, you intended it for harm, but God intended it for good. And I want you to think about your own life for a second. Think about the times you were furious because you missed a deadline, a relationship fell apart, or a project got completely scrapped that you had invested so much time in. Were you actually being rejected, or were you just being redirected to a vision that was better for you? When that relationship ended, you thought your life was over. When you didn't get that job, you thought you were a failure, just like Spencer Silver and his glue. But God was looking at your failed plan and saying, I have a completely different application for you and for this. You just can't see it yet. This whole hymnal part is coming together, but you haven't seen it yet. I think I've been there a number of times, and as I look back, and that moment in time, I was very upset with God. I wished God had done something completely different. But now when I look back at it, I'm thinking, God, you saved me. Thank you. There was just moments of He was preparing me for something better. Now, we've talked about corporate failures a few minutes ago and everyday frustrations we face. But sometimes a divine detour is a matter of life and death too. It usually disguises itself as an incredibly annoying inconvenience. Let me tell you about a literal missed flight. In December of 1988, the actress Kim Cattrall, you know her, she had a massive breakout in fame in Sex and the City. She had booked a flight with Pan Am Flight 103, flying from London to New York. And she's packed, she has the itinerary locked in, and she's ready to go to the airport. But an absolute last minute thing happens. She remembered that she promised her mother that she would buy her a specific teapot from Harrods department store in London. And her schedule was incredibly tight, but she went to Harrods anyway, and she knew she would miss the flight, but it was annoying. It was one of those things that she had promised though, so she decided to abandon her original plan, go buy the teapot, and just deal with the hassle of rebooking a later flight. Well, Pan Am Flight 103 tragically exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland. Do you remember that? Maybe you were too young. Maybe some of you do. My family was traveling back from Africa at the time, and some of our family thought we were on that flight too. And that flight had no survivors. For Kim Cattrall, a teapot, shopping for a teapot completely disrupted her plans, but it kept her alive. How many times have you been furious because you couldn't find your keys? Or because you hit a red light on the way to work? Or because your toddler threw a tantrum right as you were trying to walk out the door? We get so incredibly angry at the delays of life, don't we? We shake our fist at the sky because our plans get ruined. But for a moment, just think about this. What if that delay kept you out of an accident? What if that annoying detour was actually a shield? It's a profound reminder that we only see a few feet in front of us, but God sees the whole map, folks. So where does that leave us today? I think it leaves us needing to hold our plans with open hands. By all means, make your plans. I'm not saying that. Set your alarm clocks, book your flights, and try to invent that aerospace glue. I don't know. But when the shipwreck happens, when the glue fails, when the bookmark falls out, when you have to run to Harrods to buy a teapot, take a breath. Just breathe. Just remember, here's three things I want you to remember today. Remember the Post-it. Your failure might just be a blessing waiting for the right context. Remember the teapot. Your annoying delay might actually be your divine protection. And remember Genesis 50, verse 20. What the world, or even just bad luck, intended to derail you, God intended for good. So next time you make your plans and they go completely off the rails, and they will, I'm sure they will, I challenge you to stop asking, am I being rejected right now? Or is this a holy shipwreck redirecting me somewhere better? Well, that's the thought I have today on this Friday, wherever you watch this. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today for just a few minutes. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, will you share it with someone who just might have had their plans ruined too? They'll probably need to hear this, I'm sure. So until next time, we're going to embrace the detour, if you will. We're going to embrace the inconvenience of it. And I pray that you have a great day. Thanks for tuning into this Faith Pondering today. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until later, bye.